Okay, so you're going to work on activity sheet 7 today, but I want to go over a couple things first that we haven't talked about yet, okay? So the first thing activity sheet 7 brings up is they say they want you to create a dot plot, okay? And some of you actually did this last week when you were making your posters, and it's very, very similar to a histogram. But what a dot plot is you take your data set, so I just made this one up, but this is my data set, okay? If I want to make a dot plot of it, I have to have every single number down here on my scale. So my lowest number in here is a 3, I believe. So I would start with 3, and since my numbers go up by 1, I would just go up by 1 and include every single number in between 3 and 10, because that's my lowest and my highest number. So now what I'm going to do is you put a dot or an X, however you want to mark it, for however many 3s you have. So I have 1, 2 3s. So I'm going to put 2 X's, or you can use dots if you'd like, to represent the 2 3s in my data set. Then I move on to 4s. I only have 1 4, so that only gets 1 X. 5s, I have 3. So I put 3 there. 6s, I have 4. So I put 4 X's. 7s, just 1. 8s, just 1. 9s, I don't have any, so there's no dot there. And then 10. 1, 2. Okay, so there should be an X or a dot for every single data point you have. So if I count up how many numbers I have up here, 14, I should have 14 dots or 14 X's on my graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's how I know I've done them all, okay? So each dot or each mark represents one data point, okay? So if you were only given the graph and you wanted to find the average per se, you would have to write all these values out. So if you wanted to write out your whole data set from the graph, you'd say, well, I have 2 3s, I have a 4, I have 3 5s, 4 6s, a 7, an 8, and 2 10s. Then you could find your median, you could find your min and max, and you could do your Q1 and Q3 once you have them written out like this in order. Okay, so that was on your quiz last time that you're going to finish today. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. So that's what a dot plot is. It looks very, very similar to a histogram. It's just there's no bar for the histogram. You just put a dot for each one. Okay, but you can still from here tell if it's skewed left, skewed right, if it's symmetric, because the general shape is the same as a histogram. Okay, the other thing that you're going to do today is you're going to learn how to make these graphs on your calculator as well as by hand. So if you get out your calculator, we're just going to use the data set that I gave you, okay? So the first thing you're going to do is here, let me get out of this so I can show you how I got in there. You're going to go to Stat, and then number 1 is Edit, so just hit Enter. Okay, and this gives you an empty list. So you're going to put all of your numbers just in list number 1, and the order does not matter. So I'm just going to do the order on my paper. So I have 3, 6, and you just push Enter after each number. So I'm just going to enter all of my original data points. Okay, and see how it's telling me I'm on the 14th number? So I know I put all 14 in, and then 15 is blank. Okay, so you have all the numbers in there now. Okay, here's a couple things you can do. The first thing you can do is you can graph this. So in order to graph this, you're going to go to second, y equals. Second, y equals. Okay, that gives you the stat plot. So just go ahead and hit enter. If you're on number 1, go ahead and hit enter. Okay, yours will probably be set to off. So go ahead and go over to the on and hit enter. That's going to turn your plot on. Okay, now you get to choose what kind of graph you want. So you can do a line graph, a histogram, or a box and whisker. So scroll over, let's do the histogram first. So just make sure that's highlighted, hit enter so that the histogram is blinking. Okay, and then it'll just say L1, which is the list that we put our numbers in. So you should be good there. Okay, once you have it like that, you're going to go second graph. No, you're just going to go regular graph. Sorry. Just hit regular graph. Okay, the scale might be all funky, so hit zoom 9. Zoom and then number 9. Okay, and there's your histogram. If you hit trace, it'll tell you what your bin size is here. So this one goes from 3, and the bin sizes are kind of weird on the calculator sometimes, but this goes from 3 to 4.4, and so there's 3 numbers. That's what that little N means. There's 3 numbers in that bar, the histogram. Then I can scroll over. That goes from 4.4 to 5.8. There's 3 of those. So on and so forth. Okay, go back to second y equals, stat plot number 1. Let's change our graph type to a box and whisker. This is a regular box and whisker. This is a box and whisker with outliers. So if you have something that you think is an outlier, you could choose this one as well. Okay, you could try both of them and see which one looks more like your data set. So, okay, I'm going to hit enter on that, box and whisker, then hit graph. Again, I can zoom 9. Okay, and that will give you the box and whisker. Okay, you can hit trace. That'll show you the median down here. It'll show you Q1. It'll show you the minimum. If you go over, Q3, and the maximum. Okay, the one last thing you can do is you can go to stat, calc. Number 1 is one variable stats. Our stuff is in L1, so go ahead and go down to calculate. X bar is your mean, that's your average. Okay, SX and this one right here are your standard deviations. So your quiz also asked about the standard deviation. Okay, so we're going to use SX for the quiz on the standard deviation. Okay, and then if you hit the down arrow button, you'll get your 5-number summary. N means there's 14 numbers in your data set. You have your minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and your maximum. Okay, so you no longer have to calculate those by hand. You can use your calculator. Okay, so all you have to do again is go to stat, edit, you put all your numbers in, then you go stat, calc, number 1. Hit enter, and that's where you get all of those different numbers that you could use for your quiz. Okay, so this is posted on Edmodo. If you need help again, you can check out Edmodo again to watch this video.